So let me tell you a little bit about what these people like. You know, there might need to be a team. A team dispatched on reviewing through Benton and Franklin County here in Washington. Because essentially, what the dumb FBI group here doesn't realize is that they're being broadcasted. They're not used to people seeing what they're doing behind the veil, kind of. And that people are seeing what they're doing behind the veil. And that essentially they target people that divulge their little secret, little QAnon revolution kind of shit. And that then, essentially, most of the time, it's like people on dark web with a pair of speakers. And then they sit around saying that they're researching somebody as a drug dealer or a psychopedophile or a terrorist or somebody doing something bad in some ways. And essentially, what is being seen is that they sit around with endless groups of QAnons torturing the person in speakers until they commit the crime that justified the investigation. And so this type of stuff is basically where this local drug regional investigation group here are busy demonstrating their method. But what they need to remember is that smart people are able to see behind little stupid computer veils on what you guys are doing. And so with that, it raises a question about what these court cases are in this town. And that essentially some of these people in this town, if you were to potentially get them to make a deposition about having speakers and then basically being psyched and tortured in them into committing the crime based on what advisement comes from police officers a lot of the times about this shit, then you might find that people that are tortured into a crime with cops telling them how to get the sound torture to stop, and then they just throw you in jail and laugh at you, and then they torture you in jail. And so probably a review and maybe to reach out to those people that might potentially fall into certain categories that this regional investigation and metro would be. They have some pretty boilerplate investigations that they conduct. And so any of those kind of cases probably should have somebody speaking directly to those people in those court cases and seeing if they were told by police officers about the crime expectation and see if they're willing to admit having speakers and asking if they were tortured into a crime after being told by police officers about how to make the sound torture stop. And then overturning those cases and then exonerating their record. And then there's probably going to have to be a boilerplate settlement and non-disclosure that goes along with it. So basically, the cities that I found this stuff happening in are the cities I went and researched. And that essentially Tri-Cities, Bozeman, basically the Oregon coast around Newport, Portland, Vegas, Yuma City, let's see, Jacksonville and Savannah and Columbia, Augusta, those are the cities that I investigated, and that they were essentially doing that stuff. And so those places essentially have a potential for being these cops and these QAnon people. They get infatuated about tricking people and torturing people and getting them to do that stuff after they find them having a pair of speakers. They're all sociopaths, and that basically soon they'll all be on live petonation, and then the real criminals can then be taken out of their police force and be taken out of their stupid little pedophile house and can be placed in prison, since the worst crime was those people, and that since most of those people probably wouldn't have done any crime if it wasn't for those groups sitting around torturing them for fun. And see that you stupid fucking dumbasses in this town, there is people seeing behind the veil. So what you're all used to with your guys' T-Knock agency with a little veil of Don Trump's administration protecting you all in that veil, that doesn't exist anymore. See, Don Trump's little veil AI doesn't exist at the White House anymore. So what you guys were doing behind that AI wasn't seen in the past. But now Donald Trump's not in office. So your guys' little knock veil doesn't exist anymore. So perhaps all of you will start to realize that since none of you seem to think that ceasing and desisting that shit would ever be anything that any of you would ever do, that's exactly why most of you will probably have to be put in a prison just to make you fucking people stop. And that all of you that reach out and reach out and reach out and reach out and justify torturing people and speakers until they commit crimes, you're the people I'm talking about. See, I know that there's a woman that basically people were forcing to do crimes, that once that woman was able to be prevented on people torturing her in those speakers, then she acts like little pedoey perfect princess and never breaks laws. And you see that the exact moment that those people start torturing her in those speakers is the exact moment that she starts breaking laws. But then when somebody is able to be closing off those speakers, then she doesn't break laws. What can be deduced from your guys' shit dump on that?